is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello, welcome again. This is Karel van Oei, and together with Evelina Rock, we are the co-leaders of this team and work group coaching community of practice. For all those who've been following for many years already, thanks a lot for being present again, and for all the new people, welcome. Before presenting the speakers, I will go here to my meanwhile very known slide deck. For this year, we still have one webinar to go. That is the webinar of December, as usual, the first Tuesday of the month. And for 2018, you can find the overview of all webinars in this slide. You can download the slide deck at the bottom of the GoToWebinar application. So we change a little bit. It's not each month anymore, but it's 4 bigger webinars spread over the entire year. The topics that we deal in this community are typically all team and group coaching related topics. In case you want to stay connected and be part of the community, we have a distribution list. You can subscribe here on the link, and then you will invite invitations automatically. You can share feedback to us on speakers, on content. If you want to be a speaker yourself, find the email address here. We're also on LinkedIn. It's a large discussion group, meanwhile, of more than 2,500 people where interesting interactions of team coaching are ongoing. We're also on Facebook. Please find the link here. And we're also on Twitter since recently. If you missed the webinar, that's an interesting option as well. You will find the archived recordings on our YouTube channel, and you can find the slide decks of most speakers also on our SlideShare channel. Last but not least, most of you probably want a credential of continuous education. If you are participating in this webinar with the traditional technology of GoToWebinar, and if you have not lived any technical issues, you don't have to do anything anymore. If you, however, are participating by a simple phone line, or if you are participating and having technical issues, it's good to send an email to Lauren McGee, the content manager. Just send an email, no passwords needed anymore, just send an email and ask for Lauren to get your certificates. And in general, 1 week is needed to do all that administration. That brings me to our today's webinar. And I have a little surprise for you. I do not have one speaker, but I have 2 speakers. Yes, we're becoming really spectacular. Don't mind the rest of my back here, but this is Elaine Leen, and this is Arnaud Trenvouez. Both people who are perfectly bilingual. They speak English and they speak French. And in the first contacts with them, what really touched me is that they have a really profound and well-researched approach on collaboration. I've never seen a slide deck which was that much elaborated on collaboration than theirs. Practically very well elaborated, but also scientifically very well constructed. Particularly, they will focus on the situational aspect of collaboration. I leave the further bio up to themselves because introducing 2 speakers instead of 1 takes a little bit more time. So please, Lauren, may I ask you to share the screen with the both of them, and I wish you good luck there, Elaine and Arnaud.
Hello, everybody. There we go. Here we go. Thank you for the introduction, Carl. Elaine and I are delighted to be with you all today. I'm Arnaud Trenvouez. As Carl mentioned, the topic of my research is what people do and use to understand each other in a team. I'm involved too in designing team training situations. I'd like to hand over to Elaine for a few seconds. She's eager to say hello.
Hello everybody, Arnaud and I are really grateful to be here today to have this opportunity to talk about what we're interested in the most, which is smooth collaboration. And I'd like to thank Evelina, Carl and their team, and I'm especially grateful to Arnaud, my former colleague, for sharing this presentation with me.
Yes, so for us the main issue of team collaboration is to understand one another. What we want to do is present our working hypothesis, model and method to engage team in smooth collaboration.
So we have 3 chapters to cover today in 60 minutes. First of all, we'd like to share with you in what way we as coaches engage ourselves to coach a team. Next, we'd like to look and discuss some ideas which lead to our 3 hypotheses. And then we will present how, with the team's objectives can be established. And finally, the benefits and precautions of using models and tools in the team diagnosis process. I'd like you all to reflect a few moments on the teams you have already worked in previously, or even now, as a team member or as a team leader. And while you're thinking about this, could you give a figure from a scale of 1 to 10 on how evident you consider collaboration? And we're going to get you to work straight away because we'd like you to put that figure in the chat box, please. So how evident do you consider collaboration as a team member or as a team leader? And Carl, could you tell us what people are writing down?
So far, only good news. The minimum is 5. Somebody asking what is a scale? It's a variation between 0 and 10 where you can score a number. Evident, not evident, high.
Okay,
so the intuitive average of what I get in here is 7. 7. Yes,
okay, so that is a team member as a team leader. Now, a lot of you are team coaches, and thinking about a team situation again when you're coaching the team, what on a scale of 1 to 10, how evident do you consider collaboration? So the same scale but a different situation where now you're a team coach, how evident do you consider collaboration? Are we getting any replies?
Yes, I'm monitoring them. It's well, the average here seems to be a little bit lower. I feel more, yeah, I see more 5s than 6s.
Okay, that's interesting.
Very interesting. So, Elaine, and this simple question on the slide is not simple as it seems. When you answer this question, whether the answer you gave is the first or the second, you make the bet on the nature of collaboration. What I want to explain is that we have a preconceived idea of what collaboration is and how difficult it is or not. That's what we call the coach ontologic engagement. This will be at the root of the way you will coach a team.
In fact, Arnaud, I had to look that word up. I can't even say it properly. Ontology is the branch of philosophy that deals with the nature of being. So, in other words, if I as a coach believe collaboration is self-evident, you know, if I'm one of the people that say on a scale of 1 to 10, I'm going to put 8 or 9, I would, for example, use any tools or games that I'm going to use with the team in a different way than if I put a score of 2, 3, 4, or 5. Yeah, that makes sense. So the question I ask Arnaud is, how can collaboration actually happen? You know, if it's not evident, why do people do and use, what do they do? What do they do to use and and understand each other, because we are actually working together every day.
Yes, of course. We can work together and understand each other because humans are beings who give sense to what they do, to what they feel. And what the other do, what the other seems to do, seems to feel. So therefore, what we have to investigate is the situation, because this is the only thing that team members can share. Okay, next slide. Up. So from our point of view, collaboration is not self-evident. This is not only based on our experience, but also on numerous research articles on the subject. Okay, first of all, let's distinguish a group from a team. What do our listeners use as a definition for a team in a couple of words?
So you're asking them to...
Yes, please give your input.
The listeners, yeah, if
Okay.
Shared goals, common purpose and goal, people working towards shared goals and objectives, goals, strategically and emotionally aligned to a goal, same goals, shared, goals, shared,
okay.
Common. Yep, okay, the pattern is clear, I think.
Yeah, correct. Yes, it's one of the things that for our specific definition. We define a team by looking at 3 factors. The first one is a minimum of 2 members who have an activity defined for them and the role and the responsibility in a team. The second factor is that they are interdependent, so the collective activity have to be managed and adjusted by the team. And the third factor is that they have a common goal to reach. So this is our definition of a team, but it is not enough because a team of experts is not an expert team. An expert team can produce a mutual understanding and develop following a number of interactions, including the knowledge of role and responsibilities, the goal and norm of the team mission, knowledge, competencies, capacities of the team member. So the main challenge a team faces is how to produce mutual or shared understanding. Like I said before, a team has to take into account a lot of processes to reach the goal, to become an expert team. Why are these processes so complicated? It is just because working together it is a collective activity. Collective activity corresponds to what people do where individual activities are in reciprocal relationships of influence according to their intentions. These relationships can be qualified as cooperation, either complementarity or antagonism. So, as it depends on the interaction of people in the team, collective activity is at every moment unstable. So the collective activity of team alternates between construction, deconstruction, and reconstruction. Have you ever seen people being on the same page and without any explication break down? For us, this is quite normal. Activity is always in movement. This is one of our hypotheses. Building and collapsing, in other terms, construction, deconstruction of the collective activity are due to the individual activity. Individual activity always builds and destroys and rebuilds the collective activity. This is due to another hypothesis Everyone has his own perspective on the situation. Yes, so as you can see from this slide, we have two people looking at the same number, but one sees a 6 and the other sees a 9. And it's not just because they are looking from different sides, it's also because they are different people. For example, imagine you are a skateboarder looking at the step of a public square and you are thinking about skating there. The steps won't have the same meaning or the same shape for you as they would have for an artist who is going to paint a picture of these steps. The difference between the skateboarder and the artist is within the actor himself, his personality, his competencies, his history, and his own interaction with his environment at the previous instant. They don't have the same knowledge, the same body, the same culture, the same technical skills, or the same experience. So this signifies that everyone always interacts with the situation they have contributed to create. Let me say that again. Everyone always interacts within a situation that they have contributed to create. What we mean by have contributed to create is that the meaning an individual gave to a situation is created by him and the interaction he had within the situation. That's why it's very, very important to differentiate between the objective context and the subjective context. This brings me to the concept of arena and setting. Arena refers to the objective dimension of the context, its constraints, and setting refers to the subjective dimension of the context, that is, to the situation experienced by the actor and constructed by his activity. Engaged in the same arena, two actors construct different settings. And I think that Elaine have an example to...
Well, when Arnaud explained this concept to me, I must admit that it took me a while to try and understand it. It was a bit of a complicated concept. So we looked at this chess game, and Arnaud said, you know, it's like this chess game, each piece is in its place, the rules are the same, the place where the game takes place is the same, and everything is objectively similar. And that's what Jean Lave calls the arena. But if the two players share the same arena, on the other hand, they don't play the same game, they don't give the same sense of the context, so they don't have the same setting. In fact, they both want to win, and they don't have the same experience of this context. So different people who may have the same game to play, they don't play the same move. Anyway, I hope you are all still with us. So I think we've gone over the more complicated bit, Arnaud. We've looked at the coach's ontologic engagement, and these are our three main hypotheses. So working together is not self-evident because teamwork is a dynamic activity. Every team member has their own perspective, and although the context is the same, the situation or the setting is different for everyone. And so, Arnaud, you know, even if a team collaborated really well together, there's no guarantee that they will continue to work really well together.
That's right, Elaine. There's no guarantee. But you could coach them to self-adjust.
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 Okay. So our objective is to put the team to work. We invite the team to work collaboratively together to understand their situations by using objective tools.
Yes, our intention is to facilitate the emergence of a new activity in the team. like on this Aisha drawing. The idea is that the team creates the team which creates the team. That the team creates itself to facilitate its own adjustment. In other words, our objective is to develop the quality of interactions within the team involved in a performance approach. In order to do this, we combine a model, a tool, and a method which allows the team to understand their situation and to make changes.
Okay, I just wanted to point out that in our presentation, we're just looking at the diagnosis phase and not the tools and methods that could be used afterwards during the team coaching process, you know, once the coaching objectives have been agreed upon within the team. Okay, so for this coaching process, we're going to use a model and a tool and a method.
Yes.
Yeah. I'd like to ask a question to all our listeners. Have you already used this model in your practice, these 9 critical considerations for improving teamwork by Eduardo Salas and his team? Who knows this model already?
It's coming in. No, 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 no. No, no, no. No, no, no. No, it's those reacting, it's unanimously no.
Okay. Well, have people heard of Eduardo Salas? He's an honorary professor at Rice University in Houston, Texas. He received an APA, an American Psychological Association Award for outstanding lifetime contributions to psychology.
I got one, yes.
Oh, good.
A certain Belinda, welcome Belinda, said, yeah, 2 yeses. Belinda and Isabella, 2 yeses. Thank you.
Oh, well done. Well, I might be repeating things to Belinda, and can't remember the name of the person. Sorry, but if so, please bear with me. So, as I was saying, Eduardo Salas was chosen for his contributions from 3 decades of studying the elements of effective team functioning. So he's quite an expert in the field. The model that we're showing here is described in the publication that we've mentioned at the end of our handout in the biography, which
I got a request here to spell Eduardo's full name.
Salas, S-A-L-A-S.
Thank you.
You may not see it very well on the slide, but on the top left, written in really small writing, is the name of Eduardo Salas, his team that worked on this 9C model, and also the reference of where it was taken from, the practical guide. And we've given that again at the end, so that you can all go and look it up on internet and download it possibly. I mean, I love this model. It's simple, it's user-friendly, but anyway, they drew upon the current extensive body of research regarding teamwork to propose these 9 critical, what they call 9 critical considerations that we should take into account to improve teamwork. And they're to be taken as a set, not with no given hierarchy, not seen in isolation, because in fact, it's not always easy to separate, for example, cognition from coordination from cooperation, and they could also influence each other depending on different circumstances. But they've been selected because of the empirical evidence indicating the impact on team outcomes, and also because of their prevalence in team theory literature. And as you can see, there's a part that's on the slide that's shaded. The arc at the top is the core processes and emergent states, and then we have at the bottom the 3 influencing conditions. So the core processes are defined as interdependent activities that facilitate task work, accomplished in the pursuit of goals, and the emergent states are the dynamic properties of the team, and the influencing conditions are the range of factors that affect how the teams operate. So we're going to explain these in the next few slides, these 9 C's. Well, we have the definition of a team again with the multiple individuals, so at least 2 interdependent differences, working towards a shared goal as well. But we've also got a definition which in my opinion is a really important one between task work and teamwork, a distinction between task work and teamwork. So task work, as it says in the slide, is a performance of specific tasks that team members need to complete in order to achieve the team goals, whereas teamwork is focusing on behaviors, attitudes, cognitions, what the team do, what they feel like, what they believe, what they think. In fact, the teamwork is everything to do with the how. And task-relevant expertise, I found, in teams is not sufficient. The team will fail if they cannot share knowledge, if they can't coordinate their behaviors, and if they can't trust one another. In fact, at the moment, I'm teaching a team builder and leadership development course to international students from one of our French business schools here in Nantes. And so since September I have 9 teams to follow, which is brilliant. I've got 17 different nationalities. It's quite a melting pot. There's Chinese, there's Indians, there's French, there's Spanish, there's 17 nationalities. And we've been experimenting. They're just starting to work as teams. Since September we've been meeting regularly and taking into account their feelings and sharing them and understanding each other. But when I first started teaching these teams on team building, because they're going to be future leaders, they were really surprised by, what do you mean by we have to take into account other people's feelings? What do you mean we have to express our emotions? And every time I sent them a workshop to do, the first thing they did was actually jump into the task. And in fact, they've learned that by spending more time on sharing their behaviors, their feelings and so on, they're actually gaining in productivity. And well, most of them are working smoothly together now, but there's still one team that hasn't quite gelled.
Okay, so we can start by cognition. Cognition is cover everything that team leaders and team members need to know about each other. It's also about knowledge they've built together in the past on previous team activity. An example, perhaps, Elaine?
Yeah, as it says in the slide, it's shared understanding of roles and responsibilities. And in fact, one of the teams that I'm coaching at the moment is a recently formed management team. And I've done a few individual interviews, and the members are saying that they don't really know what the team leader's role is or where everyone's boundaries are. So they're kind of tiptoeing around each other and not wanting to overstep lines and asking questions like, what decisions can they take on their own? So when we had our coaching session, they came up with the idea of writing each other's job descriptions from what they knew of the other person's job, and doing a table together of how each person interrelates with the others.
Okay, so teams engage cognition all the time. This shared understanding may need to be adjusted over the course of the time of the collective activity. So the second one is coaching. Coaching, this is not the ICF definition of coaching. Here, coaching is about the team leader providing the necessary direction and support. It's about recognizing and correcting vital errors, as well as giving guidelines.
Yeah, in fact, to facilitate teamwork, a leader has to be attuned to the individual and team needs before, during, and after the activity. It's about the building the teamwork and not the leader doing the teamwork.
Yes, so after the third one, communication, here Salas talk about implicit and explicit communication?
Well, the experience I've had with teams here is actually with a local women's basketball team. You know, highly effective teams only have or only say a few words to each other during dynamic periods of performance, and they use non-verbal clues instead. You know, they just communicate with a nod of the head or a hand sign, and it's really something that I like to see teams doing, you know, team members doing this non-verbal communication.
Yes. So after coordination, it's orchestrating the sequence and timing of interdependent actions. Explicit, intentional, planning, routines, process communication, and so forth, or implicit, member anticipate team needs.
And studies show, Arnaud, that coordination done within the teams, we call it within team coordination, that they find themselves and not imposed from somebody from outside the team, actually gives higher team performance. And it's particularly important, obviously, coordination in teams with multiple teams working together, you know, like a nesting coordination in dynamic systems.
Okay, so after we have cooperation, this involve trust.
You know, what a lot of leaders try to do, team leaders try to do, or even team members, is to promote early wins. You know, once you're in that spiral of believing that you can reach your goals, no matter how small the early win is, it means that you're ready for the bigger challenge. So teams whose members believe they are collectively capable of successfully attaining goals tend to make more efforts, they take more risks, and they have a better performance and they're more satisfied.
Okay, so the conflict can be a brief disagreement or a full-blown fight.
Well,
no?
Yeah, I've come across some full-blown fights in, I was going to say fights, in some of the teams I've been coaching. And most of you know the Tuckman model and the storming stage, where members work out their differences of opinion. So, you know, we can be in this storming stage. And the team conflict can be task-based. That's when there's differences of opinion of how the task should be performed. Or relationship-based, because, you know, there's interpersonal differences and you get annoyed and it creates tension between team members, or even, you know, both task and relationship-based. And there's also a third type of conflict mentioned by Salas and his team, and that's process conflict, where members disagree on the division and the delegation of tasks.
Yes. So after the composition, so taken together, the 6 of the core processes and emergent state serve to ensure that the team is motivated and able to engage in the processes that lead to successful team outcomes.
Yeah, so now we'll look at the 3 influencing conditions. These are, as it says, factors that shape the manner or degree to which teams engage in teamwork.
Yes, the composition this time. Team composition has been considered in relation to team effectiveness for over 50 years. Behind this research is the wish to help find where a manager could compose an ideal team.
But you know, Arnaud, in a lot of cases, the manager can't compose his ideal team, he just inherits the team.
Yes.
In fact, the early research focused on, the early research on composition focused on individual personalities of the team members. But more recently, the research has looked at the generic teamwork skills and abilities. So this is given what we call teamwork KSAs, which is knowledge, skills and abilities, such as, providing, accepting feedback, being adaptable and problem solving. So that's at a more generic teamwork level. So to compose your dream team, to form an expert team from a team of experts, we need to take task work and teamwork factors into account. So for the teamwork side, have members high in team orientation, people that actually want to work as a team member. Team members who have these generic skills so that they can, they're good at providing and accepting feedback and solving problems together. And of course, we do need the task work knowledge as well, because, for example, if a team has to work in Chinese, if they don't speak Chinese, then we're not going to get anywhere. So that's for the composition.
And the context, the context is critical for shaping the very nature in which team members interact. And like we see before, the context is arena, and there is the setting, so the point of view of the different members of the team.
Mm-hmm. We have organizational context, so that's, where the location, the time, the occupation of the team. We have task context, that's the resources that are available, the team autonomy, uncertainty, accountability, and also the physical context of where the team is, the temperature, working in extreme weather conditions, hot, cold, the lighting, the decor. And also external threat and stress will have an enormous impact on teamwork. Teams that work in extreme environments have a really good, better cohesion than average, because literally their life or their lives depend on it. And it has a real impact on how teams think and behave.
There is some input from the participants here. There are a few questions regarding what aspects cause most stress, or what aspects exactly have the most impact on the team's behavior and on the collaboration. There are ages, there are conflicts, there are the tasks itself that can vary. And you are also now describing some elements, but what in your opinion impacts the collaboration most?
Well, in fact, there isn't more than something else. That all the influencing conditions will impact strongly, but everything is interrelated. The 6 C's of the emergent states and the influencing conditions are all going to affect stress levels, and the stress is actually perceived by the team members. So what will stress one team won't stress another team, So, I mean, I've seen stress coming from people who don't have clear goals. I have stress coming from teams because they're actually working in very difficult physical conditions. And it's hard to say whether one team is more stressed than the other. I mean, it's not the same physical condition. See what I mean? Arnaud, do you have an opinion on this?
Yes, every team have a context, a composition, and a culture. Every team have to have their processes and the emergent state in the 6 C's. And for understanding what stress a team is to we have to make a diagnosis. There is no theoretically processes or emergent states or who influence the condition. This model, like we would say after, this model is very heuristic to make diagnosis.
I'm just reflecting on all the teams I've coached, and there's not one point or one. I mean, that would be great to know. If there was just one thing that caused stress, we could find a solution to that. No, sorry, we don't. Okay, culture made. Can we go on, Carl, or are there some other questions?
Sure.
Okay.
You didn't talk about culture.
Oh, sorry, culture. Culture is a driving force for members' value, norms, behavior, and can originate for any collective. Either the team itself, the organization, the field, or discipline, or national level. Cultural values shape a way an individual sees himself in a team.
I work with quite a few multicultural teams, and in fact they develop like a hybrid culture. You know, their own culture, a mix of all the different nationalities and you know, the organization and so on.
Okay.
Should we go on?
Yeah.
This is when we're going to ask the questions, maybe.
Yes. So why we do recommend this, Elaine?
Well, we recommend this model because it's a general model which gives, well, it gives me, well, the way I use it is a kind of checklist to look out for things, and I find it enables us to be more precise in our investigations and questioning, and I'm comfortable with it because it's based on more than 15 years of research.
Yes. Yes, like I said, models are very useful if we remember that they are a starting point and not the end point. Models explain how a team should ideally work, but it's not the reality that the team work.
No, unfortunately, not always. Well, what do our listeners think about this particular model now that we've introduced it?
Should please. Is there an assessment that can be used with this model? It's interesting and informative. Model is great. How to actualize it with a team. Like the simplicity, applicability. How do you apply it? Quite informative. When coaching a team, do you start to discuss with a special C, comprehensive, many areas? Again, the question for what kind of assessment could be used together with this. Yes, assessment, comprehensive. Yes. In general, I think the conclusion is that they value it as very comprehensive and informative. And a question that is at least 10 times in my mailbox here is whether there is an assessment that goes with it.
Okay. Thank you for that feedback.
Okay, great. So how to use this, how to make an assessment like where we work. So let's take a look on these tools we use. First, we ask team members to answer 2 questionnaires. One measures their subjective opinion on their performance, and the other one is 10 to 15 minutes questionnaire on the assessment of the behavioral skills of the team. So we obtain 2 different measures which give a score on the critical teamwork dimensions.
In fact, to answer the question that I think someone said, you know, how do you actually use this model? When I go into a team coaching session with the model, you know, I put up pictures of coordination, communication, and all the critical considerations, and I describe what each one is, and then I get them to vote. I give them post-its, you know, the famous post-its, the green ones for what they think is good, and the orange ones for, you know, what they think is bad in the team, and I get them to put 2 or 3 good points or 2 or 3 bad points of the team, and then compare those results with the team's own opinion on their performance because they've taken this questionnaire, and also also the psychometric tool that we use. So in fact, we have like three measures. You know, the spontaneous exchange on these different considerations, and their opinion, which is a survey, and the behavioral skills of the team. So, any questions so far? Any more questions?
No, I think that the main one on how to apply it and whether it comes along with an assessment, that has been answered. So at the moment there's no further.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes. Well, sorry. Except the question whether there is a kind of psychometric tool involved.
Well, yes, but we yes, well, because we both. I used to work for performance, and Arnaud is still working for performance, and I use performance tools in my coaching practice, and there's a tool called Team Booster, but we haven't actually shown that on the slides. That's the tool that we used, the Team Booster tool from performance.
Okay, so let's move on to the method. Okay, we use this method with the aim of creating new team situation, what they can share in the future. So first of all, we ask the team or the team in subgroup, depending on the size of the team, to find examples of each of the 6 C's. The core process and the emergency one. Examples would be a description of a situation that is significant or silent. And after discussing this example with the whole team, they then look at their results and discuss together what is functioning and what is not in this example. Then they look at which challenges they want to address, taking into account their influencing conditions, the culture, composition, and context of the team.
Could you move the slide on?
Yeah.
Thank you. So I find that the benefits of this method are that the model, the tool, and the method itself all provide a framework to facilitate learning, create awareness, and lead to an action for the team and their leading. It's something that's easily understood, and you can make hypotheses which you can investigate with the team members on real life situations. So I find it's a practical process, and also it means we can help the team members to strengthen the ownership and accountability of their strengths, of the team's strengths and weaknesses. So Arnaud, I can see all the benefits I get from using this methodology, but what do you think we coaches should be aware of when we're implementing this?
Yes, well, these are the precautions we should consider. The coach will have his and her cognitive bias, and team members will have their too. For example, there is the halo effect, the confirmatory bias, or
the champion bias.
Yes, the champion bias.
And then from a team point of view, there's cognitive bias, which are, for example, that people tend to overestimate the degree to which others agree with them.
Yeah.
Do you agree? Yes, you do.
Yeah,
false consensus effect. There's one called the group attribution error, when there's a belief that the characteristics of an individual group member are reflective of the group as a whole, or a tendency to assume that the group decision reflect the preferences of the group members. And there's also the shared information bias, and many, many more. The shared information bias is a tendency for group members to spend more time and energy discussing information that all the members already know and are familiar with, you know, the shared information, and less time and energy discussing information that only some members are aware of. And in fact, I'd like to share a paragraph for the final point, the process for the team and not for the coach, from Christine Thornton's book, Group and Team Coaching, The Secret Life of Groups. And she says, the measure of a team coaching session is not how correctly we used a particular instrument. It is whether the team managed to talk to each other in a meaningful way about their work and how they work together. She says a tool should be used because it's appropriate in a given situation and not to reduce the anxiety of the coach. Okay.
Okay, so for us it's time to conclude. Investigating the context is not the same thing as investigate the situation, because people have their own perspective on what is collaboration in the team. So I think it's an important thing to differentiate. And then we believe it's very important to investigate the situation for smooth collaboration. Yes, everyone has his own perspective, and the situation is defined by the dynamics of the activity.
And when team members don't understand each other, we can see two ways of going forward. You know, either the lack of understanding is maintained, and maybe what started off as an activity conflict becomes a relational conflict or a people conflict. And so either nothing is done and it gets worse if there's conflict, or we try and solve the lack of understanding to reach smooth collaboration.
Okay, so
that's the bibliography, and if you'd like to look into the benefits of using psychometric tools, I use them quite frequently in my coaching, both individual and team coaching. I recommend you read the psychometrics, the first one on the bibliography, edited by the Association of Coaching, Psychometrics in Coaching Using Psychological and Psychometric Tools for Development, edited by John Whitmore. But here you have all the references we've used and where you can find some additional information, and especially the 1, 2, 3, 4, fifth one down, Salas, Eduardo Salas, with the name of the other authors, in the article from which the 9C model comes, Understanding and Improving Teamwork in Organizations, a scientifically based practical guide from human resource management. And I do believe it's, well, available on internet. And are you sure it's 2015?
Yeah,
it's 2014.
Yeah, because it's very recent.
It's recent, okay.
Yeah, it's very recent.
Okay, so do we have any questions?
Okay, well, I've not been able to monitor all of them. There's been quite a lot. I apologize to the ones whose questions I've not been able to notice, but there's still 7 minutes left, so I can still try to find some patterns in questions that come in. So please, dear participants, shoot some more questions. They're already saying thank you for the great webinar, Arnaud and Elaine. That's great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for spending the time with us.
Thank you.
What is the role
you
of
enjoy.
the team leader? What is the role of the team leader in the model application?
What is the role of the team leader? Well, the role of the team leader would be to go through all of these different critical considerations and try and determine where his team is failing. You know, we talked about the coaching part, which was the team lead, which could be the team leader's role, but not just the team leader's role, the actual coaching of a critical consideration could be done by another member of the team, or even be shared among the members. You know, I don't know if you've heard of Alan Carden's delegated meeting process, if any coaches use that, but that's a method by which the team members have a responsibility for different parts of the meeting. But yes, the leader, as leaders do, have quite a difficult task. You know, they're there to encourage, motivate, and I suppose the leader's job is to ensure smooth collaboration.
Mm-hmm. There are some more. Well, it's a question that keeps on coming back over many webinars. But the relation between team coaching on the one hand and individual executive coaching on the other. More particularly, the position of the team leader. Could he, or should he, or must he, I don't know, be coached also individually? And separate from that question, what does your vision on the differences between individual coaching and team coaching? It's a question that has come back at least times.
So the first question was, should the team leader be coached as well as the team? Was that the first question?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. What I do, but that's only from my point of view, is that I don't coach the team leader if I'm coaching the team with the team leader. I work in partnership with a few team coaches or executive coaches, and I ask them to coach the team leader while I'm coaching the team with the team leader, because I don't want to be influenced. And I know that some people, I mean, that's just the way I work. And I know it works very well with people who are both coaching the team leader and the team as well, together. And a lot of times, the issue could actually be the team leader.
Okay.
Not always, but it could be the team leader. So then we're coaching the team to cope with the team leader. If you see what I mean, like a manager type of thing. What's the difference between individual and team coaching?
To put that in a more provocating way, because there's some more input coming in, a very provocating opinion, I would even say judgment on that, would be to say, well, actually team coaching is more complicated than individual coaching. I know that I should not say that as a coach, but I'm not in a coaching conversation now, so it's something that I hear a lot. Team coaching is more complicated and requires a more differentiated set of competencies than individual coaching. What's your idea about it?
I agree with that statement personally. And I think that, I mean, I mentioned Christine Thornton's book about the secret lives of groups, and I think she's written a fantastic book because she talks about the competencies that team coaches need. And one of those competencies, if I remember rightly, is being able to hold the team. And so, you know, depending on the size of the team, you could have a more or less difficult job if you've got 10 people in the team or 3 people in the team, looking at all the dynamics at the same time, but also providing like a safe place and making them psychologically safe. Yeah, I think I'm not saying that it's just me personally. I really enjoy coaching teams. And I enjoy coaching couples as well, in fact. Not for, you know, couples that are going to divorce or whatever, but couples as professionals, as entrepreneurs. And I enjoy that more than individual coaching, but it doesn't mean, individual coaching, I haven't come across any difficult individual cases, you know, nothing that hasn't been able to be solved. issues that the coachee hasn't been able to solve, but I have come across some uncoachable teams.
Okay. Okay, thank you. I noticed that we've come on the hour. The hour has passed. Arnaud and Elaine, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for a very engaging, interactive webinar. I see that the reactions, very positive reactions, are coming in. So thanks a lot.
Oh, thank you, everybody. We enjoyed it.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Okay, it's a pleasure. So, dear participants, thank you for having joined us. CCE credentials will be sent out quite soon, and we hope to meet you back at the December webinar. All my best, and have a nice further day. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.